Good morning. I want to share something with you about how you can receive from God. There is a strategy in receiving from God. There are rules of engagement when you want to move things from the spirit realm into the natural realm. It is so frustrating and yet so simple to miss the blessings of God in our season. And I can personally attest for this myself because I have missed God in a time when He really wanted to bless me because I didn't understand that there were rules for harvest season. You have to know how to engage God and how to engage your blessing. There's rules. Take, for example, farmers. When it's harvest season for them, preparing for harvest season, it's a year-long continuous process. And one of the most important things that they have to prepare is the containers, the things that's going to hold their produce. They have to make sure that that container has not rusted over the past few months, that there's no rodents in there, there's no holes or tears, anything that could contaminate their harvest or even potentially destroy it. They have to make sure that that container is ready for the harvest. So let me read a short story to you from 2 Kings chapter 4. And this is dealing with one of God's prophets and a lady whose husband had just died, and he left her with some unpaid debt. And here's what it says. It says, one day, the widow of a member of a group of prophets came to Elisha and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves. What can I do to help you?" Elisha asked. "Tell me, what do you have in your house?" "Nothing at all except a flask of olive oil," she replied. And Elijah said, "Borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go into your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars, setting each one aside when it is filled." So here this widow was at a certain season in her life. God was ready to bless her, even though she thought she was at this season of despair. God says, "I'm going to turn this season of despair into a season of harvest for you. However, you have to be ready for the harvest." So the prophet Elisha got her prepared for her harvest. The one thing that he had to rid her of, her container of, was fear. And he had to position her in a place of faith and of submission when he asked her to go out to get the empty jars. Not jars that were full, empty. The empty jars represents her positioning. She had to be emptied on the inside so that she could receive from God. Hers was fear. And just by her reactions here, especially with the lack of faith, you can tell that she also lacked a personal relationship with God. So these are all the things that Elisha wanted to help her to address so that she was positioned to receive from God. to receive her harvest so that she could pay off her debtors. And I ask you today, are you ready to receive from God? Because this is your harvest season. God wants to pour those things into your life that you've been praying for, that you've been asking for. But He needs you to go back and check your containers again. Make sure there's no leaks. Make sure there's no residue. Make sure there's no bitterness, no unforgiveness, no fear. Make sure there's no activity that could contaminate the harvest that God wants to put in your life. Y'all be blessed.